For decades, Cameroon lived under the illusion of immobility. They believed that no matter the pressure building beneath its political crust, the mountain would never erupt. But mountains only pretend to sleep. The tremors always come before the fire. And in this alternate Cameroon, the tremors have begun. The nation stands on the precipice of a fracture so deep, so total, that no political glue could ever hope to seal it again. What holds Cameroon together today, ladies and gentlemen, is neither unity nor trust, but the thin, trembling membrane of time. And time, as things now stand, is running out. It started with the ultimatum, a simple audio message, sharp, uncompromising, and resonant. The voice of Issa Chiroma, once considered a man of rhetoric more than action, delivered the sternest and most chilling command yet. Vacate the presidential palace within 72 hours. Not 48 hours as in the past, not a symbolic shutdown. This time, the deadline was longer, heavier, saturated with intent. That is, if it is confirmed that the voice message is actually that of Issa Chiroma. Those in the palace in Yaoundé have heard it. And though outwardly they will not blink, their silence is not reassurance. It is calculation. Because this time the uncertainty is real. The regime has no idea what would follow once the clock hit zero. And fear thrives best in the dark of uncertainty. For years, they brush off such calls as political noise. But today their fear is palpable, if invisible. A silent tremor beneath their facade of control. It is not the ultimatum itself that troubles them. It is the unknown plan behind it. Issa Chiroma has vanished from the public eye, unreachable, invisible, yet communicating with his supporters on the ground. In the world of political shadows, invisibility is not weakness, it is strategy. And the regime knows that a man who disappears but continues to speak is not improvising, he is moving. Not knowing what he intends to do after the 72 hours is precisely what gnaws at Yaoundé. Unlike the previous episodes, when you call for a 48-hour shutdown, only for life to continue unshaken, this longer ultimatum, if it is coming from him, carries the weight of something brewing, something meticulously planned, something they cannot anticipate. And it is not only the government sensing the shift. Across the whole of Cameroon, across all of Cameroon, a rallying cloud forms over his supporters. The atmosphere is thick, heavy, and insistent. Some senior military officers, men who once swore undying allegiance to the old man in Yaoundé, have quietly begun leaning towards Issa Chiroma's cause. Several have already been arrested. Others stripped of their weapons. In a military way, carrying a gun was as natural as breathing. This disarmament is an unmistakable sign of fear within the regime. already called soldiers of the Central, South, and East regions, that is, the Ewondo, Beti, and Bulu loyalists, continue to hold arms with ease. They are the last guaranteed defenders of the Etudi Palace. A shrinking circle of trust, a shrinking circle of power. Rumors multiply like wildfire. Whispers of 10,000 strong insurgent army forming across the diaspora and within communities back in Cameroon. Some speak of weapons already hidden in neighborhoods once considered politically neutral, including the dense, sprawling quarters of Douala, the country's most populated city. Whether exaggerated or real, rumors do not need proof to create tension. Their power comes from possibility, and possibility is the fuel of fear. The Etudi Palace knows the ultimatum will not be obeyed. The regime has never stepped down from pressure, not once in its history. This refusal is part habit and part pride, part survival instinct too. And yet, the refusal itself brings the question that no one in Yaoundé dares to articulate aloud. Because if Issa Chiroma intends to act, and all signs indicate he does, then the next phase will not be speeches or symbolic gestures. It will be confrontation. And confrontation in a country built on unresolved fractures can only yield one outcome. But war in Cameroon, this Cameroon, ladies and gentlemen, this alternate Cameroon, will not be a straightforward clash between supporters and loyalists. It will be the spark that exposes a geographic and ethnic fragmentation decades in the making. The country stands today like a puzzle loosely held together by habit. Once shaken, the pieces will fall along their neutral fault lines, lines that history has drawn, that politics has deepened, and that crisis now threatens to carve open completely. The southern Cameroon's Ambazonia, though showing moral sympathy for any movement challenging the regime in Yaoundé, has already severe ties since 2017 with La République du Cameroon. Ambazonia sees itself as separate, independent, and fully disengaged from the internal conflicts of what it considers La République du Cameroon. For Ambazonians, any civil war erupting on the Francophone side is none of their fight. It is confirmation that their earlier separation was justified. To the north, the Fulani Hausas from Ngaoundéré through Garoua to Maroua simmer with their own frustrations. Long marginalized, long governed from afar by a political class they feel does not understand them. They may see in the chaos an opportunity to assert their own autonomy, a chance to break free. Then there are the Bassa and Bamileki regions, demographic giants with political grievances and a long memory of marginalization. In times of national unraveling, they too may choose to consolidate their territories rather than fight for a union that has never truly included them. At least that is what they consider it to be. Amid all this, Yaoundé would find itself isolated, its always steadfast allies being the Central, the South, and the East regions. A triangle of power, rich in elite networks and political capital, but geographically small compared to the rest of the country. Even with resources and loyalist units, the question arises, can a minority of regions withstand the combined pressure of a fractured and weakened nation? This is the dilemma gripping the minds of those inside the palace. For the first time in decades, they can hear the echo of their own vulnerability. The truth is that Cameroon's stability has always been more fragile than it appeared. The facade of peace was maintained through centralized control, not genuine unity, of course not. But control works only as long as fear flows in one direction, from the people to the rulers. The moment fear reverses course, the equilibrium collapses. And now, for the first time, fear flows upward. Every passing hour in this alternate timeline tightens the tension in Cameroon and in the Tudi. Every rumor amplifies doubt. Every silent neighborhood, every soldier stripped of a weapon, every whisper of support for Issa Chiroma deepens the sense that the ground beneath the regime in Yaoundé is no longer solid. War in this scenario becomes less a possibility and more an inevitability. A matter of when, not if. The palace, once a symbol of untouchable power, now feels like a bunker. Its occupants wonder whether they are counting down days or the beginning of a long, exhausting civil conflict, one that could make governing for an eighth term not only impossible, but irrelevant. For in a fragmented country, what does a term of office even mean? Who would they rule? And how? This is the reality of a nation at the edge, where the slightest push from an unseen hand can send it tumbling into chaos. In this monologue's world, the war forming behind the scenes is not just about power, it is about identity, geography, and history. The ghost of grievances never resolved, the illusion of stability finally cracking. And as long as Issa Chiroma remains invisible but influential, untouchable but present, the regime's deepest fear will persist. They are preparing for a threat they cannot see, cannot predict, and cannot control. Cameroon in this painted universe, ladies and gentlemen, stands before a mirror, and what it sees is not unity, but a mosaic at the brink of explosion. The war in the making is not born from a single ultimatum. It is born from years of default tensions, silenced voices, and fractures that were never healed. The mountain has awakened, and the rumbling beneath Cameroon's soil says only one thing. The eruption is no longer a question of if, but a question of when. When.